welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on this first episode Friday.
Yeah, thank you for joining us again today.
Yeah, and Mom, I'm excited for this discussion. What are we speaking about here today?
Today we're going to continue with our series and we're going to talk about step by step.
Yes, this is the 1991 to 1998 series. This one is September 20th of 91 and was on the TGIF lineup, which is, thank goodness, it's funny.
Yes, and we chose this because, well, as part of the lineup, and it kind of fits the theme in which the show entails. All right, Brandon, you ready for me to give just a tiny little synopsis?
Yeah, I sure am, and you
All
can
right.
go ahead and get into it.
Alrighty, like I said, just a very brief synopsis. Step by Step is about a blended family that comes together. There are six children involved altogether, and in this first particular episode, we find that the family they really are coming together as a family. They didn't quite know it, but they were coming together as a family. And then one of the children it becomes ill. And so Carol, who is the stepmother to Al, her stepdaughter, ends up taking her to the emergency room, and we find out that she has an appendicitis. And so and it involves Al beginning to like or come to terms with Carol being her stepmother. And so that is the first episode in a nutshell.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for the synopsis.
Oh, you're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, and to provide just a little information about the series, of course, this is a family sitcom, and it is produced by Bickley Warren Productions and Miller Boyett Productions. And so, Miller Boyett, we've spoken about that company numerous times over. They are the producers of shows such as, let's see, The Hogan Family and Perfect Strangers. And their predecessor company also made Laverne and Shirley and Mork and Mindy. So we are quite familiar with them.
Yes, they're like one of our favorites.
Yeah, and the two creators, William Bickley and Michael Bourne, those two ended up becoming the the new executive producers and showrunners for Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yep, and that's another connection for us, Brandon.
Yeah, but Mom, so how does this line up with our TGIF shows? I know you have the rundown that we went through last week.
Yeah, it actually it goes in very well with our TGIF shows. First of all, it's a family friendly show, and that's one of the things that we've noticed about our TGIF shows that they are very family friendly. Typically, children are in the series that we watch, and particularly in the TGIF shows, and so the role of the child is very important in these series, and actually the thoughts of the child is also and typically there's some sort of lesson that takes place in a lot of the episodes, and so and then it's funny too at the same time, and so it kind of fits into that nice little Friday night, thank goodness it's Friday, thank goodness it's funny lineup. And then, of course, there's a lot of bonding, hugging moments in each of these shows too. But what's nice is that the TGIF shows kind of go on two levels. They is geared towards the adult, but at the same time, it's geared towards the young adult or child too. And so that's what's nice about these particular comedies is that anyone is able to watch it.
Yeah, that is so true. And I would say that, yeah, in comparison to Boy Meets World that we spoke about last week, that this one I would say is geared a little bit more towards the older family members as opposed to the younger ones.
Yep, I would agree with that too, Brandon. And I will say that we did learn a lot during this first episode because not only were we looking at this toward gearing it toward finding out how it fits into the lineup of TGIF, but we do learn about a lot with this first episode. And I will say that we did both watch, just so our audience will know, we did watch Step by Step. I watched it when it was on the first time, and then and then you and I have both seen it throughout the years, and we have seen just about all of the episodes. But just to gives the audience some idea of what you really learn about the show from the first episode. First of all, we do learn that Carol and Frank both have three children. And then we know that Carol and Frank did elope, so their children had no idea that this marriage actually took place. So it was a complete surprise to them. I believe they thought that Carol was just going to Jamaica, meaning her children were just on a vacation, and little did they know that she got married while she was there, and that Frank was actually one of her customers. Carol is actually a hairdresser, and Frank is one of her customers, and I guess they got to know each other a little bit while he would come to the shop. But anyway, we learned that even we learned about the professions of both of them. We do the, like I said, Carol's a hairdresser, but she also is a hairdresser who works with her family. So her mom is a pivotal character, at least in the first season, and then her sister is also, and it's an in-home beauty salon. We know that Frank is a contractor, and they bring that up. Although we is talked about in this episode, I will say in future episodes that the fact that she's a hairdresser and the fact that he's a contractor comes up quite often. And the kids end up moving into Carol's house. And so to me, this show is almost like the Brady Bunch, not to compare, but it is a little bit about the Brady Bunch, but it's a 90s version Brady Bunch, not the 70s version Brady Bunch. Um, we know that with the children, they do have some stereotypical roles. We've got the smart child, we've got the child who acts like a tomboy, we've got the macho boy, we've got, so they do kind of hit, and they hit these kind of nails also with this particular show. But like I said, overall, what they're trying to do is show the blended family coming together.
Yeah, and since you mentioned, in comparison to the Brady Bunch, I will say, whereas the Brady Bunch, I mean, of course, we spoke about the first episode of that on our previous series, but and how even though they had their disagreements, that by the end of episode one, they practically got together and had a nice sort of cutesy life. I mean, to put it in simple terms, whereas Step by Step is trying to show more of a they don't get along, and it doesn't seem like they really have any intentions of getting along. But we're gonna make it work anyway.
Yeah, they kind of take the gradual approach to the show, and so it does take many, many episodes before they kind of show them really getting along. Um, and I will say that some future episodes kind of show they have a couple of the characters they kind of brought in a little later to kind of help the show, I think, move along a little bit more.
Yeah, and speaking of that, two of the characters did go away as well.
Yeah, we did have, I believe it's two of the children that went away. Is that correct?
Well, I believe some of
Well,
them.
in much later seasons, I should say. They were there for the majority of them, and then much later seasons. I know, well, at least I know one of the children went away. One of the boys did go.
Yeah, but two of the characters I know did go away were the mother and the sister of Carol.
Oh yes, I'm sorry that they went away pretty soon. So, but the child that went away that was in I think the last season, and he just kind of disappeared. He was alluded to.
But yeah, and so overall, this is like I said, the first of quite a few Miller Boyette shows to make up the TGIF lineup. But what would you say that made this show stand out? I mean, as a part of this lineup, why do you think it lasted for? The show lasted overall for 7 seasons, but 6 of them, on ABC for the lineup.
I think it was just a well written show. I mean, it was funny. Like I said, they tweaked the show, and I want the audience to kind of watch, but they tweaked the show. I want to say partway through the first season, and so and it became just a kind of a. I mean, I think it just became kind of a funny scenario. Carol and Frank, they're just kind of mismatched, but yet matched together, and so. I just think that the writers just did a good job of kind of creating this family that just kind of, like I said, they got along, but then at times they didn't, and it was, but at the overall end, they were a family together.
Yeah, and I did want to touch back on what you were saying earlier. Of course, we've both seen the series. When I first saw the series, it was on TV for about a year or so before the network the channel that was on sort of disappeared. But I went back about a year, maybe 2 years ago, and rewatched the entirety of season one and the beginning of season two. And so it was really interesting, reviewing over that first season and to see the development of the characters. But I think in this first episode, I really like that you're able to see, we're able to see Carol and Al really bond a little bit, even though that Al, doesn't really want a new mother figure per se. She is at least more accepting of her by the end.
Yeah, yeah, and you could tell that Carol does everything she can to kind of keep the to bond with Frank's children, and then but yet at the same time they show the differences in how they were raised, and which is kind of fun to watch. How Frank is just very kind of I just say just he's not strict. Let's put it that way with his kids, and so Carol is very strict and just kind of this is the way it should go, and so it's kind of fun to watch that kind of come together.
Yeah, but something that I found was kind of interesting, especially upon this rewatch, for going through this, is that Carol didn't really know if this was a really good idea or not, at least from the way that this is portrayed. But Frank was extremely insistent on moving in and starting his life immediately, which makes me wonder, Oh, and also that he practically followed her to the vacation. So,
Yeah, yeah. There were problems there from the beginning, but but as a couple, they they ended up portraying them really well later.
but yeah, like I said, but certainly a interesting, introduction, and rewatch. But nevertheless, I think one of the reasons I like it too is that they're not afraid to make their characters a bit goofy, but yet goofy and grounded, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, Brandon.
But yeah, like I said, the series lasted for 160 episodes. It was on the TGIF lineup, and then it went to the competitor of TGIF, the CBS Block Party, for its final season.
Wow.
But yeah, but Mom, oh, I did want to ask, what are your thoughts about the theme song?
Oh, I absolutely love the theme song. You know, I like a theme song with words and real meaning behind it, and I absolutely love this theme song.
Yeah, and um, yeah, I really like this theme song, and I really like that the Miller Boyette shows, especially, just have such great meaning to in the theme songs, and like even re-listening back to it. I mean, it all makes perfect sense, and and I think I had read somewhere, and the lyrics definitely make me think of the step by step line in the theme song for the Hogan family.
Yes, you told me about that connection there, and I thought that was really interesting because you asked me what the connection was, and it took me a little bit, and I said, "Oh, got it." And so, for those who are listening, think about the step by step theme song, and then think about the Hogan family, and you'll find the line that it has in common.
But yeah, but Mom, is there anything else that you want to mention about this series step by step?
Now, I think we've covered it, Brandon.
All right. Well, like I said, for those tuning in, thank you so much for watching.
Yep, thank you for watching, and we look forward to speaking with you next week. All right, have a great day, everybody.
Continue to watch with us. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.